Howdy, folks. Happy Monday. Yes, Kevin, you mentioned it. I was going to say goodbye to the first of what should be all-star game. Although the Major League All-Star game, like I said, I have little problem with that. But just do a skills competition. That's fine. The NFL, they're going to do like a throwing contest, a running contest, this and that. No Pro Bowl because the game has been a joke for, 30 years, maybe more. Thank you, NFL. You finally did something right.
I mean, when I was younger, I watched it, but I get it.
Yeah, I mean, Mike just doesn't understand the game. Mike has never caught on that it's actually a professional business, and he doesn't go to the All-Star game, so he doesn't know that.
Right, that it's a networking event.
Yeah, the people who are there and the kids, they all love it. It's a fun thing, and because when he turns it on, he's appalled. He just can't take it. But they're never going to give it. And he's just not going to give up their All-Star games.
No, it's a big event for them. No way.
It's like their annual convention.
It is
where everybody shows up. Like
the NFL doesn't need an annual convention, so they did away with it. That's the other three sports. The other three sports need it or want it.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Baseball, listen, I mean, this is not to besmirch the NHL, but baseball's All-Star game is much older, much more prestigious. It's always going to be.
And it's good. Baseball.
Yeah, it's good.
Baseball's good.
Yeah, you can't really change the competitiveness of baseball and the potential for injury.
Although Bud Selig tried when they had the tie. But other than that.
Yeah, but
otherwise it's a great game. I agree.
Yeah, no, it's a good, and in the NBA, the only thing wrong with the NBA one is, they should let these guys try to light it up, and they should only name like 8 guys to each team, and let someone try to get 100 points.
I think that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah,
because nobody does the slam dunk anymore, and that used to be the highlight.
So, like, if you just put 8 guys, and whoever was hot, let them, try to,
heave away.
Yeah, just fire away. That's
like that.
And 160 to 57, 157. That's going to be the average score. So
I did want to mention they did have. I didn't know if Roger Federer was going to get to play in a final game, but they did have the Rod Laver Cup, so he played doubles and he played with Rafael Nadal, and they used to be, big time competitors, and they're playing together, and it was good. It was fun. It was a fun game. Guys were crying. He was crying at the end, but he looked good. Like it was a good way to go out for him for doubles because he's had such knee trouble that doubles takes the brunt off of that. So it was fun to see him play one more time, and I think for the men's, you probably could say he's the best of all time. If he's not, he's top 2.
Yeah, I think he's best. Unfortunately, Djokovic is going to,
he's going to break his record.
Yeah, and he's just not like Federer is a candidate to be the classiest athlete of all time. He's amazing. So.
I mean, that's just the nature. I mean, Federer broke all of Sampras's records, so now Djokovic is going to break all of Federer's records because now he doesn't have to go up against Federer or Nadal. It's really, the sport has gotten to be.
Well, Nadal's still there. He didn't retire.
Nadal's starting to take.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. But the thing, there was an excellent documentary on John McEnroe, and McEnroe was my favorite growing up. I'm sure you're shocked at that. And I realized this while he was playing. When he was number 1 in the world as a singles player, he was number 1 as a doubles player. With
his brother.
No, Peter Fleming.
Oh, Fleming, that's right. Yeah, Fleming was it. Yeah.
And I think they won a couple Wimbledon. So this guy is playing all the singles matches and he's playing doubles matches too. I'm like, no wonder he burned out at 25.
Yeah, Fleming wasn't a good singles guy, but he was a great doubles guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The doubles was more important than it is today. That's the problem.
Yes.
So because more would do it. And, I think you could earn so much money as becoming a singles that, they didn't want you to play doubles. You're manager, So
the only time they wanted you to play doubles, Kev, was when they had the Davis Cup. When McEnroe was always part of the Davis Cup team.
Yeah, because you got points. It's
right,
a point system.
Right. The doubles match was just as much as the singles match. And by the way, Aaron Judge is still at 60 home runs. After I'll give the Boston Red Sox credit, they really didn't pitch around, even though he had a lot of walks. They really didn't pitch around him. Last night, the game was shortened by rain, and Judge was the next guy up in the 7th inning, and they called the game. So now they go to Toronto, and I may go to one of the 3 games up there because it's a shame. But this is the thing. Toronto's in a race with the Yankees. They're probably not going to catch them, but they're also in a race with Tampa Bay for a wild card. They're not going to pitch to Judge. They're going to pitch around him.
They might. I'm going to tell you though, catching a home run ball is harder than you think. Now I'm a guy that believes. Look, at my age, I'm not bringing a glove. Like if I catch it, I catch it. That's the way I'm doing it. But I went to the first game in Citi Field, and for whatever reason, we had seats in the outfield, and the first home run that was hit there was by some guy on the Padres, and I thought I had a legit chance at it. And I jumped up. I had like my big heavy Mets jacket on. I jumped up, didn't get me. It hit a guy behind me, practically broke his finger. I remember taking a picture of it. It was all like black and blue, and the guy right behind him got it. And it was on ESPN, right? Because it was the first homer at Citi Field. And I looked at my vertical because I could see me because I was a big blue jacket. It wasn't good.
Yeah, the closest I came to catching a ball at a major league ballpark was the last year of Yankee Stadium, where Robinson Cano hit a ball, hooked it into the foul seats down right field, and it was a line drive, and it was maybe 3 rows away from me. It hit the seat and it dented it. If I had tried to catch that thing, it would have gone through me. So
especially now where everybody's hitting at 100.
Now it's 100 miles an hour. You might have to bring a glove.
Yeah, I mean it's.
But the odds of me catching it, Russ, I couldn't catch the ball when it was a pop fly.
You take a shot at it, Mike.
Yeah, I guess.
You push the little kid out of the way, and you take a shot at it.
There's a young woman in Detroit. They've done a television interview with her about it. She comes to the stadium to get balls, and she's like 18, and she's got like 70 balls in her short career of chasing balls. And she talked about, you got to come before the game. Most of the ones she's gotten has been before the game. And
that's the only one I have is a batting practice home run. Yeah.
So,
there was a story on Real Sports about some guy who goes to different major league ballparks, and he catches like hundreds of balls.
Oh yeah, he's a jerk. He's the one that'll pushes little kids out of the way. Yeah.
He's a complete ass. They should arrest that guy. He's such a jerk.
He's made a lot of money too. I don't know the person's name, but I will say the person who surrendered the 60 homer ball just for, not much. I applaud that person because I'm the same way. I've always said if it's a milestone for a player, I just want to meet the player, shake his hand, get a signed ball, signed bat. I'm on my way.
Mark my words. If I go to Toronto tomorrow and catch Aaron Judge's 61st home run ball, I would donate it to the Hall of Fame.
No, just give it to Judge, and you get something back. That's all.
Oh, well, I mean, a bat or something like that. That would be
right. You just get a signed ball, a signed bat, say here, thanks, Aaron, shake his hand, maybe get a picture, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like fully established how it all works. I was at the Lions game, and the ball ended up in the stands, and you got to give it back in the NFL football. But the people were telling the young woman who got it what the deal was. He said, take it down to the usher. The usher will give it back. But what ended up happening is it was a opposing player that threw it in the stands. So the guy came back, and they said, you can go ahead and keep it, they've said.
Wow.
They got to keep it.
So they but I think they charged the player for it.
They did. They do charge the player. He was, you'll be fine. You can't throw the ball.
Right.
So.
This is Mike would donate the ball to Tank. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Monday, September 26, 2022.
I'm Russ Cohen. I've never had Tang.
Really?
You're lost.
Well, you'd win the drinking game back when I was in college. I'm just so stunned by that. I forgot who I am. I'm Kevin Allen.
And I'm Michael Lagello, and I've had grape tang and orange tang. And this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. And, we never followed through on that, Russ. I have to do an internet search because we said there were different flavors of tang that they probably experiment throughout the world. There was like pineapple tang and guava tang. I have to order like a couple of those just to try them out, but not too much because I am diabetic. This is Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Okay, let's start off just with some, I guess, training. Well, Russ, let's start off with the USHL tournament that was in Pittsburgh and some prospects that you saw.
Yeah, I'll mention one who had a couple of good games that we'll see if Kevin knows him. I did tweet Kevin the information a couple of days ago, but Owen Mellenbacher, how much has he been mentioned in Detroit?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, obviously he's a guy that, they had interest in and took, and, they seemed high on him. So, yeah,
he was playing fourth line center. He's like definitely a third or fourth line center type. He's got decent speed. He will hit everything that moves. He's got pretty good hands. So I think it's like a bottom six guy who, can score a little bit. He's got a chance, and he plays for Muskegon. I liked what I saw out of him, and he was a guy that I wasn't that familiar with. For Islander fans, there was Quinn Finley, who was playing for Madison. He was a top line left winger, really good puck pursuit. He's fast. I think he will score some goals and get some points. He already had a point in his first game. Somebody to look out for, because a good scoring winger is not easy to come by these days. I don't know if he'll be a top liner in the NHL. He probably looks more like a second or third line type, but that's good. I watched Cambriere, Danny's kid. He was playing fourth line left wing. I think maybe in one game he may have played third line. I don't have the other sheet in front of me, but pretty good speed, good stick handling. He is listed at 5'10", which I believe would make him taller than Danny. I think Danny was he's short of me. I don't know what they listed. What did they 5'8", I think they used to list him at, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and I'm a little taller than that. And so he's a little taller. Maybe he'll even grow. Right now he's listed at 150 pounds, so he's going to have to, get a little stronger. But he's good. He's got offensive ability, and he's got wheels. Speaking of offensive ability and wheels, so I interviewed the St. Louis brothers. They're playing for Dubuque. Ryan has been around a little bit because he was with the program a little bit, went to Northeastern, went back to Dubuque because he could play with his brother. And so they're actually on the same power play too. And they together are really good. They're a brother combination that play together, practice together. They've never been on a professional, they've never been on a team together, but they've been practicing together for a while. So Lucas is draft eligible, and he's a left defenseman. He was playing top line D for them. Pretty good player. I mean, neither guy are big, but they're, 5'10", 5'9", right in that range. They both are listed at 5'10". I'm not sure. I think Lucas is definitely 5'10". Ryan, maybe. He's close. But both look good for both days. They both are feisty. Lucas got hit by a guy more than once. So after the whistle, he went up, with the stick across the chest to the guy, and kind of reminded me of Marty St. Louis with that temper a little bit. But both are really good skaters. They both could skate great. Lucas is a good puck possession, good stick. I think he has to work on his defense a little bit, but he's defensively aware. And Ryan in this league, I think this was a good move for him, because if he puts up points here, then goes back to college, I think he'll be on a better track. So I think they both have a good season ahead of them. And I'll mention Will Smith from the NTDP. He's their top line center. Took him a little while to get going, but he's got really good speed. He is not the Will Smith that you're thinking of. He's going to go to BC, but he's a really good player. he did eventually get a game-winning goal, and so he's another guy to watch out for. There's probably, right now, from what I saw, 4 or 5 guys to watch out for at the program.
So, well, I mean, that's all. That tournament is always educational for you. I mean, especially about 10 months down the road when the draft comes. And
right. So here's how it works. Like I was talking about it with a Duck Scout. Like, here's all my sheets, right? Look, you see a ton of games from Thursday to Sunday, and you see the NTDP twice, which is great because I don't get out there, more than once or twice a year.
Right.
So it's a good starting point, right? That's where you start. It's the beginning of the season, so you can't rate a guy what you saw there on his entire season, but you can keep up with him, watch video, and have a really good idea. Like, I have an idea now on each of these teams who I'm going to kind of look at, and then, usually somebody else emerges too from these teams, and that's how you start, getting your list together for like one league. So that, that covers me for the USHL for a while, and then I just keep up with it throughout the year, and then I'll see them like at the All-American Prospects game. They'll have the best from that league in that game, and then I go back and see, and I can see how they've developed. So that's sort of how it goes.
Now, Kev, switching to some of the players that are still not signed, I saw a note from Jeff Merrick that Nicholas Haig is skating, I think, with the Kitchener Rangers of the OHL. His coach, the coach of the Rangers, was a coach that he was under, I think, with the Chicago Wolves of the AHL. So he's trying to stay in shape. There's an impasse there, and obviously the Golden Knights don't have a lot of cap space, so they're probably trying to get him in on a lower deal, maybe a 1-year deal, and then when things open up next year, there's that they may have more options there. Same thing sounds right now with Rasmus Sandin in Toronto. I think right now they're looking to get him in on the 1-year deal qualifying offer. They might be open to the 2-year deal, but they're not going to pay him what his agent is looking for, which is
I disagree, Mike. I don't think they're getting him in at a qualifying offer, because I think if they could have gotten him in on a qualifying offer, he'd be there skating right now.
Well, I don't think he wants to take it, Russ, but what I'm saying is that him sitting out is not doing him any favors. So,
well, I mean, you could look at it both ways. I mean, once the Leafs get their first injury, which they will on the blue line, then he's going to be.
They already got that. Liljegren, he's out.
Yeah, but Liljegren's not enough to move the needle. But if somebody else goes out, then they'll be in trouble, and then they'll have to sign him. I think he's going to wait. I don't know how long the wait will be, but I knew he was going to wait. I still think he's going to get his $2 million a year. I do, and he's just leaving it up to Kyle Dubas to say, "You figure it out. This is what I'm worth."
He's not going to get $2 million, but anyway, Jason Robertson, Kev, is the one.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't sound right now. It doesn't sound like he wants to take the 3-year deal. It sounds like he wants, close to what Kyrou or Thomas or one of the guys who got the 8-year deals, and I don't know if Dallas can afford it.
No, well, they can't, but they're going to have to figure that out. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it comes down to him taking absolutely every nickel that he can that's left.
Whatever's cap available. Yeah.
For a 1-year deal.
Right.
It just could come to that. Because that's just in the ballpark of where it's may work for both teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get some time to figure it all out, for next season. But I don't think anybody's panicking over. I mean, restricted free agents just have no option. So you just wait it out, and something happens. Somebody gets hurt.
Yeah,
like Russ is right. Somebody always gets hurt. I've just had this discussion with someone to do. It's become part of now your management strategy is to wait for the injuries.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's just acceptable. Like, there's in Detroit, there's no room for the rookies, but it takes one guy to get hurt long term, and suddenly there's plenty of room, in terms of the cap space, or for some teams, or in the Red Wings case, just a roster spot. So I think all these will eventually get worked out, and I don't think there's any reason to panic. The days of guys setting out for 50 days are kind of over.
Yeah, it won't be that long.
I mean, Nylander went to the last day, and I still think that was that in the end that was a detriment to the Leafs going forward, because not because of the money they paid him, but the precedent that they set, and that's why I think Dubas is a little hardened here. Russ, he's not going to, it's one thing if you had a player who had 3 years of pretty decent success in Nylander and in the end saying we need to get the guy in. Sandin hasn't had much success. He's been injured. He's been inconsistent. There's a lot of questions about him, coming into camp at times like out of shape. I think he's a talent, but he's got to prove something.
Well, wait, but Don B says Jake Muzzin's hurt. Is he hurt?
Oh, he's back. He skated today.
Okay.
Dan B, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Okay. Elliot Friedman said something pretty interesting. Now we've been down the road of Jacob Chychrun, and he's going to get traded, or Arizona's looking for 4 first-round equivalents. According to Friedman, he mentioned on his most recent podcast that Ottawa has been interested in Arizona, which that would make sense because their defense. But says that Arizona really wants Shane Pinto in a deal for Chychrun, and I'm like, okay, and what else? Shane Pinto's a good young player, but I would hope that there'd be a lot more than just Shane Pinto.
Of course there is, but he's a good young center. He's a good young center that could, that's NHL ready, and that's something where if you kind of look at the Senators, like it seems like they're playing Giroux at center this year because he's on a line with DeBrincat and Stützle. No, Stützle will play center on that line. So Stützle will play center. Yeah. They're probably a little weak at center though, in their bottom 6. So that's where Pinto could be a help. So I guess that's my guess as to why maybe they're balking at it a little bit.
Well, Stützle, Norris. You could play Batherson up the middle. Tyler Mott could play center. Yeah, see, they're weak in their bottom 6 at center. Pinto would actually be pretty good there. Mott could do it for 4th line center for sure. But Pinto's a talent, and it wouldn't be just him, but I could see why organizationally, just in my head, I didn't think they had a lot of centers. But Kev, Arizona, if they've stuck this long with that demand, if they give up, like Bill Armstrong all of a sudden says, "Oh, I'll take 3 guys, or I'll take 2 and a first-round pick," his credibility is shot. Well, I think he would have always taken 3 as long as the prospect is really high level. Like I think he said for 4 first-round equivalent, but if you gave him trying to think of an example, but one of the top prospects in the game today. I think that would move the needle a little bit. He's still going to want the other first-round pick. But, the first-round pick to me is the easiest part of the deal, because a lot of the teams that are trying to get Chychrun are guys they're going to pick in the 20s, So. Yeah, the one thing I would say is, I don't think they could use Eric Brandstrom as a first-round equivalent anymore. You know what I mean? Like, former first-round pick. You're right. Yeah, I don't think you get away with that. So they're going to have to be more legit than that. No, you're talking probably, maybe Bernard Docker, Tyler Boucher, Lassie Thompson. See, I don't think they're going to trade Boucher because, again, I think they're expecting him to be in the lineup in a year or two as their Tom Wilson replacement. So I actually don't think they'll trade Boucher. No. Oh, you mean as their Tom? As their Tom Wilson guy, yeah. Yeah. So I think they're gonna, and this is probably a long negotiation that'll go into the season and maybe even to the deadline. But I think Chychrun will get traded by the deadline. Would you trade? Formanton could be part of the deal because he's an RFA. They're definitely not trading Jake Sanderson. I'm pretty sure Batherson's not been signed yet. I think another. He's the guy. He's the one with the long term. Right. He's got 5 years. Oh, he has 5 years? Okay. Formanton's the RFA. Right. I'm sorry. I got him mixed up. Yeah. So Formanton that'd be a hell of a pickup. Formanton's got speed and skill. If you got Formanton, let's say you got Bernard Docker, who I think is very close. Pinto. You got a legit first-round pick and some other prospect. It's probably as much as you could expect, honestly. That's as good as you're going to get. But, Arizona, as Armstrong has said, Kev, they can afford to be patient. They can afford to wait. Right. Where are you going? Yeah. No, because he fits pretty well for them. And,
I think they have the things that I think they got to get is they want a real premium prospect, and they want that first round pick. That first round pick is crucial to them because they're trying to accumulate. They're under, and there's a lot of teams that are doing this now. Percentage of getting talent out of the draft is so poor, especially as now that we're into 32 teams, that you got to have a lot of picks because you pretty much the dice is in your hand after the second round. You just don't know, and everyone likes to think their scouts are better, but the truth of the matter is the statistics don't bear that out.
No, but I will tell you this: teams are now reaching out to companies to analyze ways to improve the draft. I was having a long conversation about that. So they do it in the NFL. The reason the conversation started was because I said, to me, the NFL GM is the hardest GM in sports because there's so many players that draft. Even though you have a better look at players, there's a lot to analyze there, like a ton. And so it's a hard position. Like if you're an NHL, if you're an NFL GM that has hung around for, 10 years, you're doing something right. But part of it is they've also really reached out to companies that help streamline the process, help identify prospects, help take out biases. So there are NHL teams that are looking into this too.
Yeah, I mean, they're all looking for a way to try to game the system.
Really, all you have to do is ask me. I always have the right answer. Kevin knows that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're looking for ways to improve on the average, and it's just not very good. You got
it's not,
and you're getting let 3 players every 2 years. So you're spending millions. On this.
You're supposed to get 2 every draft, but not everybody does anymore.
No. And if they add teams, it's just going to get worse, so, and I always point this out, but you go to the 21 team league, which wasn't all that long time, it wasn't that long ago. And, 63 was a 21, 63, 64 was a 4th round pick. 64 now is the bottom of the 2nd round.
Right.
So it's a completely different game. So
one thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to throw this out. I should have brought this up when Russ was talking about prospects. It's somewhat related, although he's been passed over in the draft. But it's an interesting story that for those who remember the NFL player Tim Biakabatuka, his nephew Jeremy Biakabatuka has been in the Red Wings. He was an invitee to their for the NHL prospect tournament and has been an invitee for the training camp. And they just made their first cuts, and he wasn't on it.
That's good for him.
He's 6'4". He's 210 pounds. He's a great athlete. He said it's a football first family, but in Canada, he had plenty of hockey opportunity. His dad thought the NFL or the football was a little rough. So they decided to stick with hockey. And today, Derek Lalonde, the coach of the Red Wings, said that he's been real impressed by Biakabatuka. And Steve Yzerman has told him pretty much play the kid, play him a lot.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting to see. I don't know whether they'll sign him. I mean, it's a long stretch. I mean, he's 20 years old. He's been passed over in the draft, obviously. And
maybe he gets an AHL contract.
But there have been guys, Perinovich took the 3rd time. Ronnie Adder took until the 3rd time.
Yeah.
So it happens,
It does. But I think they do like him. I think he's performed well here. I watched him pretty closely. He can skate, and he's a big guy.
That's the biggest thing. I mean, if he could skate and he has size like that, they're going to find something for him.
Well, yeah. I mean, Grand Rapids. The problem is, and it's just a coincidence, but this is the year 3-4 of Yzerman's rebuild, and all the defensemen, not all of them, but a lot of the defensemen he's drafted over the first 3 drafts have come over this year. So, they're all going to Grand Rapids. So he's sending 4 or 5 young prospects to Grand Rapids. So now to bring in Biakabatuka, does that mean that he goes to Toledo Walleye to start there in the ECHL? Or
possible?
or maybe they won't sign him. I don't know, but they have been impressed with him. That's the bottom line.
Well, and size is always, we talk about like smaller players, having an opportunity in the league now, and you don't overlook players who are smaller, but this is still a league that if there's a guy who's big and he's got some ability, teams are it's like a shiny toy. They're going to give him an opportunity. And the one I always point to, and too much to my chagrin, is Mason Marchment, because Mason Marchment was a guy who played for 3 OHL teams. He was undrafted, obviously son of the late Brian Marchment. Got an opportunity with the Toronto Marlies, played for parts of 4 years with them, and improved every year, improved his skating, got a cup of coffee with the Leafs, and then they got traded to Florida. And Florida, took advantage of the fact that, he was hungry, had 2 good years with them, and now he's turned it into a 4-year contract with the Dallas Stars. I'm not saying that Biaka Patuka, that's going to happen with him, but teams will give big guys a chance.
Absolutely they will. There's no doubt.
And the Leafs are doing that this year with a former Dallas draft pick, Curtis Douglas, who's 6'9", and he has ability. So they're gonna see what they have. They just signed him to an NHL contract, and teams are gonna keep giving these big guys an extra chance because they see that they can reap the rewards. Just one thing, because I this year's preseason is shorter than the normal preseason because the NHL finally wants to catch up and get the season started on time. But I'm wondering, Kev, the NFL, I know that they narrowed their preseason from 4 games to 3 games because they expanded the regular season. But really, could this be a trend in them shortening the preseason to, say, 5 or 6 games? Because really, I don't know what is to be learned from some of these games.
Yeah, I mean, to them, I think it's gate revenue, to be honest with you. I mean, you're still, as we learned last time, you're gate revenue driven in the NHL. More than half the revenue comes from gates. And, these are, the games that you have in your home arena. Season ticket holders are part of their packages. They bring in some revenue, even though necessarily the season ticket holders don't use those tickets, but they got to pay for them. So I still think this is part of the revenue. I don't think it's unbelievable money, but
it's something.
It is some money. So I think that's why they keep them. So I've not heard much of a drumbeat to reduce the size of the training camps in the NHL. I wish there would, because I just think today's game, you don't need that. You guys are in shape. So
yeah, we were talking before. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just the timing. You just need it for timing's sake.
Yeah, we were talking before the show started that these training camp rosters are 70 players. It's insane. I mean, they split into their minor league camps about less than a week in. So like I'm expecting like the Leafs to they had a split squad game with the Ottawa on the weekend. I'm expecting them to cut down probably 30 players in the next 2 or 3 days. But I don't know.
Like the Flyers play Buffalo tomorrow in Buffalo, and they'll cut down a lot after that game because Tortorella's not even coaching it. He's only coaching the last 2. He's not even dealing with all those young guys. Like he's not even dealing with them. So I can't imagine how many cuts they're going to have.
What is he doing? SPCA commercials or something?
No. It's the train to trainer thing. Here's my issue. I don't mind if for one game you want Ian LePerrier to coach and have the assistants coach, that's fine. But he's only coaching the last 2 preseason games. And my issue with that is like 30% of your camp or more will get cut and never really get coached by John Tortorella in a game. And I think there's value in that, even if that guy is going to the OHL, if that guy's going overseas, if that guy is going to Lehigh, I think there's value in that. And I don't agree with that process, but it's what he wants to do. So
the other thing that was of interest, and some people in the chat were talking about it. I guess Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews were interviewed early in training camp, and Kane was not making comments to the point of "get me the hell out of here." He still it still sounds, Kev, like he, under the right circumstance, would like to stay in Chicago and finish his career there. Whereas it doesn't sound like Toews, if Toews gets traded, not to say he doesn't care, but he might be more open to it. But that the comments they made were sort of along those lines, which is a little surprising because Kane is still one of the best players in the league, and he would have a chance to win another cup or two if he goes to the right place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he said last year that, and this was before he knew what was going to happen, that he, wanted to, finish his career there. And, I mean, I get all that. And, he's a guy that generally says what he thinks, and I'm sure he believes that too. So, I mean, like, I think if the Blackhawks really wanted to keep him and be part of the rebuild, like, I think he would do it. He's won 3 cups. I mean, everybody wants to win, but it's not like he's lacking for success in his career. Like, no matter what happens from this day forward, he's going to go down as one of the greatest American players in NHL history, if not the best American player. So his legacy is pretty well established. He can pretty much do what's comfortable for him. But I don't think the Blackhawks are willing to pay him to be part of a rebuilding team. So I think he'll just have to go because, he doesn't want to play for peanuts.
I've spoken and heard from at least 3 or 4 different types of people that think the Rangers will make a big offer for Patrick Kane. And I think they're waiting for the deadline because of the money, the cap. They want to maybe see how Kravtsov is. Maybe even with Kravtsov playing, if he starts scoring a lot, that's a guy they put in the trade because he's already NHL ready. Like, I think they're working all of those angles. So I fully expect them to be in on it. Whether they get him, who knows?
Yeah, I think whoever offers them the best package. I don't believe. Well, Kane is going to go wherever Kane wants to go. He's got a no move, so he has.
Yeah, I've heard that he would like to play for the Rangers. I don't know to what degree. Like, if he's going to be like Adam Fox and be like, that's the only team I want to play for, or Panarin. I don't know if it's going to become like that St. Louis situation, but it might.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's interested in Colorado too.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, the Panarin, like, he had a great season with Panarin, so that's a lure.
It is a lure, yeah.
I've heard Edmonton and Toronto too, but both those teams, I don't know how they would do it because they don't have the cap space. I've heard it said that whatever deal happens for Patrick Kane or Jonathan Toews, it's going to have to be a 3-way deal with Chicago retaining 50% and the other team retaining 25% to get their salaries down into the 2.75 million. Now, some teams.
Now, does Evander Kane have any kind of no move?
No, Patrick Kane.
No. I'm asking about Evander for the Edmonton angle. I didn't think he does.
You're Chicago. Why the hell would you want Evander Kane?
Well, I mean, again, Evander Kane right now, while you're going through that midway of a team, rebuild, he could be very useful for them.
Yeah,
I don't know how that helps Edmonton, though. Evander Kane was pretty valuable for them. I think if they wanted Patrick Kane, they'd be looking to try to go for it all, and I think you need Evander Kane to go for it all.
Yeah, Evander Kane's got a no move clause, but
he does have a no. They gave it to him. Okay, I wasn't sure.
And when it comes to Toronto, the whole point of adding a Patrick Kane would be to add to the core 4 and not to trade a Nylander to add. You want to add that guy for a year. You don't want to subtract from what you already have.
Yeah, I think they would get outbid if it's, let's say it's Rangers, Colorado. I think they just have more to offer.
I agree. Yeah. Unless he wanted to go and play with Matthews,
right?
Probably right. Our team that we're going to preview today is Edmonton, and obviously that's a team that has generated strong passions from, well, I know me, but their success last year, you couldn't deny it. They got to the conference final before getting poleaxed by the Colorado Avalanche, and that's not a disgrace because that team was a great team. But Ken Holland, Kev, has done a pretty decent job. He brings in Evander Kane on a flyer, and Evander Kane helped them dramatically, especially in the playoffs, as a somebody who Connor McDavid and Draisaitl could distribute to, providing secondary offense. And they lose veterans like Duncan Keith to retirement and Mike Smith to injury. They get rid of the Civ Mikko Koskinen and bring in Jack Campbell, who will partner with Stuart Skinner between the pipes. really they didn't make any big additions except for Campbell. So what do you think of Edmonton and where they're going right now?
Well, I mean, I think last year's move to get Evander Kane worked out better than anyone anticipated it would. Like, you knew that would be kind of what they needed. They needed, as kind of a belligerent guy to help out in that regard that, played pretty hard and be hard to play against. They were the only team last year that was ranked near the bottom defensively that had good, won a playoff round.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just based on their offense. So I think they are where they were last season, where, they're not good enough defensively. But maybe they can make an adjustment at the trade deadline. I like their goaltending move, that. And I think I like both their goaltending moves, because I thought last year they should have just brought Skinner up and seen what he could do. You know what I mean?
I did too.
If he's the guy, let's see what he can do. And now, you got a guy that can play some games, and you can sort of work him in and see what happens. But, if they want to go and win it all, I think they're going to still have to strengthen that defense. And, that means they're going to have to make a move at the deadline. And the only way they're really going to be able to do that is if somebody is hurt. And then if someone is hurt with enough salary to allow them to do that, then that's going to hurt them as well, because that guy's probably going to be a crucial guy as well. So, they're where they were last season. I don't, I'm not picking them to win the cup, that's for sure, but I do think they're a contender. If you got if you've got Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, you're going to be in it. I mean, those are, two of the top 6 players in the game.
Yeah, I think they're a contender for sure. I like them as much as I liked them last year. I saw that they signed McLeod for another year. That's good, because he gives them a little extra depth. But I had a long conversation with Dylan Holloway at the rookie photo shoot, and I think he can make the team. He looks good. He's gained some weight. He was always good, great skater, always good defensively, good on faceoffs. He could be a little bit of an upgrade. No, he's not a defenseman. Also, Evan Bouchard, was their top scoring defenseman, even with Barry there. And I think Bouchard will get over 50 points this year. He had 43. It's possible he could get 60. He has that kind of talent. So scoring points is not going to be the problem. Like Kev said, it's going to be getting a defenseman at the deadline. But if they get a little more output from some of these other players, they could get to the conference finals.
Well, defensively, I mean, the getting rid of Chris Russell is addition by subtraction. They bring in Ryan Murray, who was on the Avalanche until he got hurt and played. He's a decent 5'6" defenseman, so I think he helps him a little bit. The question is whether Broberg is ready for the NHL, and we'll find out, in training camp and early in the season if he gets an opportunity. I do think
I think Broberg's going to make it because of their shortfall at defense. He is a good skater. He's really a terrific passer. I mean, he was a forward, and they turned him into a defenseman. I don't know what his defense is like right this moment, but look, if you can get him to skate the puck out safely, it's not a bad thing. I did just watch his brother too. His brother was at the USHL start of the season too, so he's got a brother in the USHL. But Broberg's gonna be an addition in the sense that, like I said, speed and puck moving still helps you.
The only thing that's a concern, Russ, is the fact that you've already got one offense only defenseman in Barry, and you really can't have more than one or two of those guys. And if Broberg is, that type of defenseman, I mean,
I think you could put Broberg. Here's how I would do it. Like, Bouchard can play both ways, and he's very physical. I think to answer State of Survival, he could play better than he did last year defensively, and I think he will. So I would put him with Nurse.
Well, Darnell Nurse can't play 28 minutes a night. That's the thing. They were playing him 25, 26 minutes a night, and then he ended up getting hurt late in the year. I'll just say this. Like, I think that it's sort of like what's going on in Toronto. I think the goaltending tandem in Edmonton is better than it was last year. Whether it's going to be good enough for them to carry them past Colorado or any of the other contenders in the West, I don't know. I'm still skeptical about Campbell. I like him as a guy. He's a nice guy, and he deserved the contract that he got. And he's better than Mike Smith, and he's better than Mikko Koskinen. And if that's enough, then they have a chance to,
I think he's better than Darcy Kemper. Like, I think,
I don't think that. I don't.
I do. I think Kemper, I don't see Campbell giving up the bad goal as much as Kemper does. Now, maybe Campbell has gotten worn down and had some, stretches of bad games. I agree with that. That's happened, but I don't see him giving up the bad goal in games like Kemper can. And Kemper even did it in the cup, but they overcame it.
But I do think that there's a possibility here, Kev, that it could turn out to be sort of a Boston Bruins scenario. They signed Linus Ullmark to the long-term contract at $5 million a year, and then Jeremy Swayman ended up being the number one. Skinner could end up being the number one, and essentially Campbell's the safety net, the guy who plays 35 to 40 games while the young guy steals the job. I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I think it's a plausible scenario just because I like Skinner. So, I don't think they thought that. They thought Skinner was the guy because there's been no talk of a tandem even.
No.
So I think the plan is to go with Campbell and then work Skinner in. But we'll see how it all evolves. I mean, you're right. I mean, sometimes things, especially in goal, evolve differently than anybody thinks. So we'll watch and see how that plays out. But there's so much talent there. In McDavid and Draisaitl and Kane, adds another element to it. I mean, there's a lot of firepower there.
Yeah,
there is,
and that covers up a lot of ills.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, great show, guys. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Kevin Allen, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.